Mike Berkey, VP of Corporate Development and a Director of Sitka Gold. I'm also a geologist, so an optimist, so of course I'll be making some forward-looking statements. So I'll just briefly introduce you to Sitka Gold. Our flagship project is the RC Gold project in the Yukon. It's a new intrusion-related gold discovery within the Tombstone Gold Belt. We just announced our initial resource last January of 1.34 million ounces. We've got other projects in our pipeline. We've done a little bit of work on our Alpha Gold project in Nevada. It's a Carlin-style gold discovery in the Cortez Trend. It's a trend of mines that have 10 to 20 million ounces of gold, so it's a pretty sweet district to be active in. We also have a couple other projects. Burrow Creek in Arizona, it's a copper-gold epithermal target. It's permitted for drilling. We have no plans for that right now. Of course, our RC is still the main focus. And we have a really interesting copper project up in the Coppermine River in Nunavut. So we're diverse in the commodities and the areas that we explore. But as I mentioned, we're really focused on the RC, where we've made a pretty exciting discovery. So we are in the Yukon. We're road accessible. We get to our project from Dawson, though. You drive past the turn to Mayo, where you access Banyan Gold's property and the Victoria Gold Mine. So we go to Dawson. You can fly into Dawson. There's a 5,000-foot paved runway there that Air North, Yukon's airline, lands their 737 on. And then it's about a 2-hour drive to the property. So our discovery was made in 2021, a bit of the history. The project was first recognized in 2016 when Corco, our CEO, and Ryan, his son, were very familiar with the project area, knew there was some new access in there. They're out doing their prospecting gig, and they found some new stuff, so started staking claims. That was 2016. Victoria Gold was getting through the permitting process, looking at building their mine. So they recognized that this district had some legs to it. So a bit of first mover in this area, well known to have gold-bearing intrusions. So they started staking more ground and acquiring some projects off other prospectors and companies. So that's how the project came together. 2020 was the first year that they drilled it, and had some success there, and they clipped both the Blackjack and Eiger deposits that are our discoveries. And in January of 2023, I mentioned, after a couple years of drilling, we put out that first inferred resource. The Blackjack and Eiger deposits are on ground that we own 100%, and we've done work on other intrusive related targets on the project, so there's a lot of additional potential outside of those known deposits. We've done some initial bottle roll testing. This is the exact same style of deposit as Victoria Gold or the Fort Knox mine in Alaska, same age rocks, so there's no real mystery there on how it's going to react metallurgically. And so those initial bottle roll tests indicate that it's not refractory mineralization, and we'll be able to use conventional techniques to get the gold out of it. So where are we? You can see the red star in there. The Tombstone Gold Belt is a belt of rocks that was recognized kind of in the 80s when Fort Knox was discovered in Alaska. A geologist, actually it was Robert Friedland's company. I worked for the Yukon government back then as a regional geologist, and we knew that after Fort Knox was discovered, Robert Friedland had a private company. He came over to the Yukon, did a regional program through the Yukon, staked our property, Clear Creek, also staked Dublin Gulch, which is now the Eagle Mine, and a number of other projects in the area started doing his evaluation, and they hit their first successful drilling at Dublin Gulch. So that's where the focus was there. But this belt of 92 million year old intrusive rocks that are gold bearing stretches across the Yukon. And then of course, in our neck of the world, we've seen a lot of work in and around our project area with Victoria Gold, Banyan, and us. And then most recently, Snowline's fantastic discovery that they've made further to the east in the belt has really changed the narrative on all these deposits because they're all thought to be relatively, bulk tonnage, low grade, sub-gram deposits. But with what Snowline has discovered, we see the potential for these things to be much higher grade. And that's what we are happy about with our Blackjack deposit. We're seeing higher than average grades. Not seeing quite the same grades and size that Valley's getting, but we're in a very well-developed part of the world. We can drive to the project, as I mentioned, 2 hours out of Dawson. And so we're very happy with what we're seeing here. So here's that district. Dawson is just off the map on the top right, and Mayo's on the right-hand side of that screen. So in between Dawson and Mayo, in that stretch, the heart of the Tombstone Gold District, there's great access because it's seen active placer mining for many, many years. So what's really interesting, there's been a number of phases of exploration, which always happens. Gold price goes up and down, companies get in there, do work. Some make it to the finish line, some don't. This region has seen probably 4 phases of exploration, but really now we're in a really fruitful stage. Since May of 2020, there's been over 10 million ounces of gold added in this area alone, this part of the Tombstone Gold Belt. The bulk of that with the Ormac discovery that Terra has, 6 million ounces. The Eagle Gold Mines come into production. They've added additional ounces to it. They've also made their Raven discovery that's close by. And of course, our discovery at Blackjack and Eiger. So the district as a whole contains about 18 million ounces, but as I mentioned, 10 million of that's been added in just the last few years. So it's a very exciting district. So here's our inferred resource estimate that came out in January at a cutoff grade of 0.25 grams per ton. These 2 deposits, Blackjack and Eiger, they're about 2 kilometers apart. Blackjack is a little higher grade, 34 million tons at a grade of 0.83, so 900,000 contained ounces of gold. And the Eiger is 27 million tons at a grade of 0.5. You combine those and you have 61 million tons at a grade of 0.68 for 1.34 million ounces of gold. That's just slightly higher grade when you combine them than the Eagle mine. Definitely a lot higher than Fort Knox, which is currently mining 0.3 grams per ton. So we're very happy with it. And the grade, as I mentioned, in the Blackjack deposit is definitely higher. So here's the Blackjack Saddle Eiger corridor. So there's a cluster of intrusions in here. There's actually 4 intrusions on that map. The Saddle intrusion, the Eiger, the Josephine, and then the Pukelman to the south. So that trend in there is where we focused our efforts and made the discovery of the Blackjack and Eiger deposits. We've got a couple holes into the Josephine where we've hit gold-bearing material there. I think it was 14 meters at 0.6 grams per ton. So work to do on that and a lot of other targets in that area. Midway between the Blackjack and the Eiger, those 2 stars that are where the deposits are, is the Saddle Zone, and we have 4 holes into there. They've all hit some nice grades. The last hole was 80 meters at 1.2 grams per ton, so we see the potential for adding resources there. In the background, the colors, the purple are golden soil geochemistry, and there's very strong golden soil through there, so that's part of the reason, of course, why we focused our efforts there. So this is a plan map again showing that 0.25 gram per ton grade shell, that kind of blobby look where the stars are, and then the soil geochemistry in the background. So in 2023, we drilled 16 holes, 6,500 meters. So all outside of that resource area. 12 of those holes were around Blackjack. They all intersected gold mineralization. 2 of the holes in the Saddle Zone. So we're starting, as I mentioned, to put together a nice little area of potential resource there. And then off the map, we did the 2 holes into the Josephine. This is a cross section. We're looking to the north, and again, those blobs are that resource. It's kind of hard to tell, but a lot of those holes you're seeing they're all outside the resource area on the Blackjack. Very strong mineralization to the south and down dip, and with a few hits to the north of the deposit as well. So we haven't delineated this deposit yet, so more drilling to come, and we've yet to follow up on the Eiger zone from that initial resource there as well. So a lot of work to do to really define the size of these deposits. And as I mentioned, the saddle is looking like there's potential resource there, so additional potential to add ounces in a very kind of tight, confined area. So the one thing about the Blackjack, as I mentioned, is it's a high-grade at-surface deposit. It comes to surface and it outcrops. The discovery hole, hole 21, hit 220 meters of 1.17 grams per ton, but not too far from surface, 50 meters of 2.08 grams per ton within that intersection. Hole 24 had over 2 grams starting right at surface. So we started to see in our drilling that there was a nice high-grade component to this deposit, which we've been following as we drill out the deposit at deeper depths into the south. So the 2022 drilling, as I mentioned, it focused on the Blackjack and Eiger to get that initial resource. And then again, as I mentioned, we recognized the Blackjack was producing a lot higher grades, so that's been the focus of the company. 2023 drilling stepped out to expand those resources, and again, that's been successful, and we got to keep going to find out how big these are. So there's some of the highlights from the Blackjack. In the yellow, those are intersections that are kind of in the 1.5 gram and higher range. You can see hole 21, 22, 23 early stage drilling intersected some of those higher grades in the near surface environment. And then down hole 47, it's the southernmost hole on the deposit or outside of the deposit. But it hit overall 219 meters of 1.3 grams, but down there at depth, 55 meters of 3.11 grams. So again, we're seeing that high-grade component carry on at depth. So 2023, we did the resource expansion. 2024, we're going to continue on with that. Again, just mentioning hole 47 that hit a very nice intersection at depth and to the southern outside of that resource area. There's a shot of hole 47. You can see the consistency of the grade and that higher grade section. Also hole 46, we hit a pretty nice grade. Hole 46 is outside the northern margin of the resource area. It hit 56 meters of 1.23 grams and another 38 meters of 4.15 down at depth. And then additionally on the north end, hole 43 hit a very long intersection of 0.74 grams per ton, almost 500 meters of mineralized rock there. So we're pretty excited about the potential to keep expanding this. The Eiger deposit, we were hoping to get over there this last year and do some drilling there, but Blackjack was the gift that kind of kept giving, so we never got away from there. So the Eiger deposit is open for resource expansion drilling, and we'll hopefully get to that this year. Slightly lower grade deposit, but again, some pretty big intersections of significant gold there. Saddle zone midway between Blackjack and Eiger. There's kind of a dike and sill swarm in there. It's the best soil geochem on the property in there. It's not too far outside of the resource boundary at the Blackjack deposit. And as I mentioned, the last hole there hit 80 meters of 1.21 grams per ton. So we think we're starting to define a good potential resource area there. So again, focused on that northern part of the Clear Creek intrusive complex. Each of those intrusions are slightly different compositions, but all related. Do they merge at depth? Common source. So there's kind of some blue sky scenario there that if you want to watch Quentin Henning's YouTube videos, he's definitely put some geological interpretation on there as what he thinks might be going on. And as I mentioned, we've focused in there. We've definitely hit some interesting gold in the Josephine. 14 meters or 18 meters at 0.41, 6 meters at 0.85. So work to do to continue looking at that to find a potential resource there as well. Definitely resource potential outside of the Clear Creek intrusive complex. We've really focused on that. Got lucky and found 2 deposits very early on in the program, but there's 9 known intrusions on our project that are gold bearing. They all have soil geochemistry, rock geochemistry, so we know there's a lot of additional potential there. We need to start stepping out and exploring some of these and looking at the overall potential. Obviously, our focus is going to be figuring out how big these initial deposits are, but there's also a lot of blue sky left. And down in the southeast part of the property, you can kind of see some yellowy areas there. Some of the soil geochem there, it's got gold, bismuth, tellurium, a lot of things that indicate maybe part of our property has some undiscovered or unroofed intrusions. So a lot of geology left for us to do to really unlock the potential of this project. So next year, our priority, of course, is going to be resource expansion, trying to define the limits of these deposits that we have. So we're going to start in the southern part around the Blackjack deposit again, where hole 47 was an extremely strong hole. We're going to start drilling in February. Because the access is so good here, we can drill year round. We don't want to drill in 50 below, so we'll get in there a little later in February, but we're able to drill pretty much year round. We'll take a small break during spring breakup and then get back in there. We have a contract for 15,000 meters of drilling. Drills up on site, great infrastructure at the project. The camp's in great shape. We've made it nice over the last few years, so we're looking forward to getting up there fairly soon. And then again, there's other very nice targets within that Clear Creek intrusive complex that we haven't tested yet. So we need to look at those a little closer, probably get some drill holes in them, follow up on our intersection at Josephine, and then step out and start looking at some of the other known gold-bearing intrusions on the project. So a lot of good work that's been done in the past. We're very happy with our progress. Obviously, it's every geologist's dream to discover a deposit. So we're pretty happy and we're excited about the potential of the project. So the team, I'm a geologist. I worked for 20 years for the Yukon Geological Survey. So very familiar with intrusion-related gold deposits because they were coming into fruition when I started at the survey. So I was lucky enough as a regional geologist to visit pretty much every one of these properties, including Clear Creek in 1992 when other companies were back in there having the first look. That's when I first met Corco. He's our CEO. He was working on the deposit to the north of us on Florin Gold's ground. He made a discovery of an additional deposit there. Really liked Core, liked the work he did when I worked with the government. Met Don Penner, our president. He's another really great geologist. So they have good financial background too. They've had success with some other companies. So a nice combination of really wanting to find deposits and having the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. Down in Nevada, we have a property too. So that's Scott Price. We have a Nevada geologist on our team. Greg Dawson, Jill Desereau, a couple geologists with long experience in the Yukon. So a really strong technical team. And of course, at the Yukon Survey, I worked beside Craig Hart for about 10 years. So we're good friends. We got to go look at these intrusion-related deposits together. So we are very happy to have Craig on our advisory board and a number of other solid folks. So we're pretty happy in the last few, probably 6 months. I think there's been a recognition of the work we've been doing, and we've seen an appreciation in our share price. We have some good backing with some funds there. We have some good family trusts and private investors, and the management is in there, of course. We have about 250 million shares outstanding, a lot of warrants. A bunch of those expire in March at 18 cents. So probably get some folks exercising those. And as I mentioned, since August, our share price has broken out of that languishing around 10-cent mark, and we're up to 20 cents with about a $50 million market cap. So yeah, Sitka, lots of upside potential. Like any good gold company with a solid asset, we feel we're very undervalued, not only to our peers in the Yukon, but elsewhere in the gold space. And we've got other assets in the property as well. We're well financed as our share price has gone up. We've been able to finance. We have $8 million in the bank, so we're good to go for this coming year. And we have other projects that are in our pipeline that are very solid, including Alpha in Nevada that we're also doing a small amount of drilling. Our focus is 95% in the Yukon, but you can't ignore your other assets when you're a company. We want to be able to get value out of those. Great management team with good technical background as well as a good financial background. And like I mentioned, some good other assets elsewhere. So again, in 3 short years, we came up with a gold resource up at the RC Gold Project, 1.34 million ounces. We've completed all the requirements to own 100% of those deposits that are on our Clear Creek portion of the property. We've done 6,500 meters of drilling since the announcement of that initial resource. So the resource is expanding. They're both our deposits, the Blackjack and Eiger, are still open in all directions, and we're fully funded for this upcoming drill program. We're waiting on results from a small drill program we did on Alpha Gold, and both our Burrow Creek and Coppermine projects are permitted for drilling. So there you go. That's the Sitka Gold story. We're focused on discovery, and we're happy to have made some and look forward to making more. We're just down the hall over at booth 114 if you want to chat to us at all. Thank you very much.